Ready for a deep dive into something you literally experience every single day, but probably don't fully appreciate.
I'd say that's a pretty safe bet.
We're talking about light, and
Not
not
ridiculous.
just the see your surroundings kind.
Right.
Today, we're going way beyond that to explore its potential to heal and really influence our well-being.
Fascinating stuff.
Our guide on this journey is Light, Medicine of the Future by Dr. Jacob Lieberman.
Oh, real pioneer in light therapy.
He combines ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science.
Giving us a fresh perspective on this emerging field.
I love that he brings those two worlds together. So think of it this way. Have you ever considered yourself a light body?
Most people probably haven't.
Sounds a little mystical.
I know.
But Dr. Lieberman presents some pretty compelling scientific evidence for how profoundly light affects us both physically and emotionally.
It really is remarkable how we often just take light for granted.
We do.
You know, it governs our days and nights.
Yeah.
Yet most of us are completely unaware of its impact on our biology and emotions.
For sure. Dr. Lieberman kicks things off by describing our bodies as living photocells, continuously absorbing and reacting to light energy.
Oh,
And guess what? The main pathway for this interaction is our eyes.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
We usually associate our eyes with just vision,
Right.
but they serve a much broader purpose. They're a conduit for light to regulate our internal systems.
So it's not just about seeing, it's about,
It's about much more than that.
oh, okay,
And this light directly impacts the hypothalamus.
the brain's command center.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, the hypothalamus, responsible for hormone production,
Sleep cycles.
even how we handle stress.
All that and more.
And light entering through our eyes helps synchronize all these functions.
It's like the hypothalamus is orchestrating this intricate symphony of bodily processes.
Okay.
And light is the conductor's baton, making sure everything's in harmony.
I love that analogy. That's a really good one.
It paints a vivid picture.
It does. So Dr. Lieberman also delves into the pineal gland,
Often referred to as the third eye.
a tiny organ with a somewhat mystical aura.
You could say that.
No.
The pineal gland is fascinating. It's like our internal light meter.
Okay.
It synchronizes us with the natural environment. It tells our bodies what time of day it is, what season it is.
Oh, wow.
Allowing us to adapt and thrive within nature's rhythms.
It's so easy to lose sight of how in tune we are with those natural rhythms,
Especially in our modern world,
filled with artificial illumination.
constantly disrupting those rhythms.
Right.
And that has ramifications. We'll get into those a bit later.
Okay.
But here's a mind-blowing detail for you. In some creatures, the pineal gland actually resembles a physical eye
What?
and even receives light directly through the skull.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
It really emphasizes its role as a light sensor.
No.
So now let's move on to color, a manifestation of light. Dr. Lieberman explores how different cultures have used color for healing purposes.
For centuries?
For centuries.
What's intriguing is that contemporary scientific research is actually starting to validate these age-old practices.
Really?
We're seeing studies that show specific colors can impact our mood, blood pressure, even have measurable effects on the autonomic nervous system.
So it's not just some whimsical New Age notion.
Not at all. There's genuine science backing the power of color.
Do you have an example that really demonstrates this link?
Take blue light, for example. It's now the standard treatment for neonatal jaundice in hospitals. It effectively breaks down bilirubin, which is a harmful substance in newborns.
Oh, wow.
It's even replaced riskier blood transfusions in many cases.
That's amazing.
So it really speaks to the potency of light and color as medicine.
It makes you wonder what other healing possibilities we might be overlooking.
Absolutely. And that's a question Dr. Lieberman investigates thoroughly in the book,
Great. Well, he also examines this concept of malillumination,
which refers
who
to
refers to the potential adverse effects of artificial light on our health.
the flip side of the coin.
Right. It's kind of unsettling to consider that, everyday light bulbs could be detrimental to our well-being.
It definitely prompts us to reconsider our relationship with light.
It does. And that seems like a seamless transition into our next chapter, the shadowy side of artificial light.
Welcome back to our exploration of light's captivating realm.
In the previous segment, we discovered how light nourishes and regulates our bodies.
Acts as a vital nutrient.
It does. We also touched upon that shadowy aspect of artificial illumination.
Melillumination, as Dr. Lieberman calls it.
Right, melillumination. It is unsettling to consider that commonplace light bulbs could be detrimental to our well-being.
I think it's definitely a concept that prompts some reflection.
It does.
To fully grasp this, we need to look at the distinctions between natural sunlight, a full spectrum of light, and the manufactured sources we've become so reliant on.
So let's dive into those disparities. Dr. Lieberman clarifies that there are three basic types of artificial illumination.
Incandescent fluorescent and high-intensity discharge.
I imagine most folks are familiar with at least the first two.
From our homes and workplaces.
Exactly.
Incandescent bulbs, those familiar pear-shaped ones, they emit a fairly full range of the visible color spectrum,
Okay.
yet they lack sufficient blue light and
So,
contain virtually no ultraviolet light.
what about those ubiquitous fluorescent lights? I feel like I've spent countless hours under their glare.
Oh, fluorescent lights are interesting.
Okay.
They can produce different kinds of light depending on the phosphors they contain, but the most common type, cool white fluorescent, is unfortunately deficient in both red and blue violet light.
And that's
Precisely the areas where the sun's emission is strongest,
so we're essentially bathing ourselves in a skewed version of light.
depriving our bodies of wavelengths they've evolved to depend on.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
Mhm.
Dr. Lieberman really emphasizes the research of Dr. John Ott,
Who is this?
a pioneer in photobiology,
Okay.
who conducted these groundbreaking experiments to investigate the consequences of this disparity.
This is where things get a little unnerving, right?
A little bit.
Dr. Ott looked at the lifespans of mice under different lighting conditions, and he discovered that those living under natural illumination live considerably longer than those subjected to fluorescent lights.
And it wasn't just lifespan.
Oh.
He also noted that certain types of artificial illumination could actually trigger behavioral problems and even physical abnormalities in animals.
So it's not just a matter of us feeling a little tired or sluggish under fluorescent lights.
There could be more serious long-term health implications.
That's kind of scary,
It is. Now, it's important to acknowledge
to be fair.
that Dr. Ott also advocated for developing full-spectrum artificial illumination.
Which aims to more closely mimic the composition of natural sunlight.
Right. So full-spectrum illumination would seem to at least be a step in the right direction. Dr. Lieberman mentions a study done in Sarasota, Florida,
The way they're replaced.
where they replaced cool white fluorescence with full-spectrum lighting in a classroom setting.
And they saw some amazing results.
Like what? Students in the classrooms with full-spectrum lighting showed decreased hyperactivity, fewer problems with concentration, and they even demonstrated academic improvement.
That's really impressive.
It is.
But if it's the lack of specific wavelengths that's causing the problem, how could switching to full spectrum lighting have such a profound effect? Wouldn't it take more than just a few extra wavelengths to completely counteract the impacts of malillumination?
That's a really good point, and it really highlights the complexity of this issue.
Okay.
While full-spectrum lighting is definitely an improvement over standard fluorescence, it's still an artificial source.
Right.
It may be enough to mitigate some of the negative effects, but it can't perfectly replicate the dynamic, ever-changing nature of sunlight.
Right. Sunlight isn't just this static set of wavelengths.
It's this constant interplay of light and shadow fluctuating in intensity and color throughout the day and across the seasons.
Our bodies have evolved to thrive in that dynamic interplay.
Exactly. Artificial illumination, even full spectrum, tends to be much more uniform and predictable.
I see what you mean.
It's kind of like listening to a recording of a symphony versus attending a live concert.
There's something about that live performance that resonates with us on a much deeper level.
Absolutely. Going back to the Sarasota study, there's another fascinating detail Dr. Lieberman points out. Researchers observed that even visually impaired students experienced positive benefits from the full-spectrum lighting.
Really? So that suggests that there's something else going on here.
Beyond just the visual perception of light.
There must be some other mechanism at play.
Exactly. It indicates that light is influencing our biology on a level that goes beyond conscious sight.
That's fascinating.
It is. And this brings us to another pioneering researcher,
Okay.
Dr. Harry Wohlfarth, whose work really expands our understanding of how light and color impact learning and behavior.
All right. I'm ready for more aha moments. Tell me about Dr. Wohlfarth's research.
So Dr. Wohlfarth conducted a series of studies looking at the effects of both lighting and color in classroom settings.
Okay.
Building upon that Sarasota study, he experimented with changing not just the type of lighting, but also the wall colors.
So he was creating a more holistic sensory environment.
Right. Instead of the typical stark white or beige, he used warmer tones.
Very interesting.
And his findings were quite remarkable. students in classrooms with the modified lighting and wall colors experience a significant reduction in stress levels,
Fewer.
fewer absences due to illness, and an overall improvement in academic performance.
Wow, so it seems like he really hit upon a formula for creating a more harmonious learning environment, one that supports not just cognitive function.
But also overall well-being.
Exactly.
I think that's a wonderful way to put it. It really underscores the importance of considering these subtle, often overlooked ways in which light and color shape our experiences.
It's a potent reminder that we're not just these disembodied minds trying to absorb information. We're whole beings intimately connected to our environment.
And light plays a vital role in that connection.
It does. So this leads us to another fascinating aspect of Dr. Lieberman's book, his exploration of seasonal affective disorder.
More commonly known as SAD.
This
This condition affects millions of people. Really highlights how crucial natural light cycles are for our mental and emotional health.
So SAD. It's more than just the winter blues.
It's a recognized medical condition with a real biological basis.
Okay.
And it's a relatively recent discovery, which I think really speaks volumes about our growing detachment from the natural world.
Okay, so essentially SAD stems from a disruption in our circadian rhythms.
Our internal biological clocks.
Right.
And light exposure plays a huge role in regulating those rhythms.
So as the daylight hours dwindle in the winter and we're getting less natural sunlight,
It throws those rhythms off balance, and that can lead to a whole cascade of symptoms.
so it's more than just feeling a little down. It can
Yeah.
actually be quite debilitating.
Absolutely. Fatigue, low energy, difficulty concentrating, changes in appetite and sleep patterns,
Yeah.
even feelings of hopelessness and despair.
Wow. It sounds really tough to deal with. Fortunately, there are effective treatments available.
And light therapy is one of the most promising.
So bright light therapy has emerged as a highly effective treatment for SAD.
It involves exposing people to a specific type and intensity of light,
Okay.
typically for a set amount of time each day to essentially reset their internal clocks,
So it's kind of like giving the body a dose of artificial sunshine.
to compensate for what it's lacking during those winter months.
That makes sense. And you're saying the results are often quite remarkable.
They are. People who were struggling with debilitating symptoms often experience significant relief with consistent light therapy.
That's really encouraging. So if light therapy is so effective for SAD, could it also be beneficial for other conditions?
You're on the same wavelength as researchers. There's
Huh?
a lot of exciting research happening right now investigating the therapeutic potential of light for a wide range of conditions, such as...
Non-seasonal depression eating disorders, even aiding in alcohol and drug detox.
Wow. So light therapy really is expanding beyond just treating seasonal affective disorder.
It's becoming more like a versatile tool with applications across different areas of medicine.
I think that's a key takeaway from this entire deep dive.
Absolutely.
Light isn't just something we see.
It's something we sense, something that interacts with us
Yeah.
on a fundamental biological level.
And as we gain a deeper understanding of that interaction,
We're uncovering its vast potential for healing and well-being.
it's a pretty incredible realization, isn't it? That something as simple and abundant as light.
Could hold a key to addressing some of our most challenging health issues.
It is.
It's a powerful reminder that nature often holds the solutions we're looking for. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities of light therapy, I think it's important to circle back to Dr. Lieberman's personal journey and the insights he gained through his own struggles with emotional and physical pain.
Let's do that. Because ultimately, his message goes beyond just the science of light. He's really exploring a deeper connection between light and consciousness.
Now I'm really intrigued. Let's dive into Dr. Lieberman's personal narrative.
Yeah.
What did he learn through his own experiences, and how did that shape his understanding of light and healing? Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of light, and this final part promises to be the most thought-provoking yet. We're delving into Dr. Lieberman's personal experiences and the insights he gained through confronting emotional and physical pain.
It's amazing how much ground we've covered. From the human body as a living photocell to the healing properties of color, from the dangers of illumination to the surprising effectiveness of light therapy for conditions like seasonal affective disorder.
It's been quite a journey, so now we're diving into the more personal side of the story, exploring Dr. Lieberman's own experiences and the wisdom he gleaned through facing emotional and physical pain. What's really captivating is that Dr. Lieberman's journey to understanding light as a healing force actually began with his own struggles.
He really believes, based on his own experiences, that many ailments originate in the mind.
Okay.
Unresolved trauma, he argues, can manifest physically in a whole host of ways.
He's suggesting this profound connection between our mental and emotional states and our physical well-being. It's
Mm.
not a new idea, but coming from a physician who specializes in light therapy, it carries a certain weight.
It does. And what's particularly intriguing is that Dr. Lieberman developed this unique approach to healing that incorporates color therapy.
Color therapy,
He utilizes specific colors to help patients confront and process past trauma,
leading.
ultimately leading to greater self-awareness and emotional well-being.
So color therapy, it almost sounds like a gentler, more subtle form of exposure therapy, guiding individuals to face their fears and anxieties through the lens of color.
I think that's a really insightful observation.
It speaks to the power of symbolism and associations, right?
Absolutely.
Colors evoke these strong emotions and memories. Dr. Lieberman seems to have tapped into that potential to create a truly unique healing modality.
He really has.
I'm curious about the specifics, though. How does he actually employ color in this therapeutic context? Does he have patients visualize certain colors or surround themselves with specific hues?
Well, from what we've read, it seems like he uses a variety of techniques.
Okay.
He describes using colored light directly, having patients gaze at different colored lights for specific periods of time. He also mentions using colored filters, and even working with patients to identify which colors trigger discomfort or anxiety,
Just, yeah.
suggesting that those reactions might hold clues to underlying emotional issues.
That's fascinating. It sounds like a very individualized approach,
Very much so, tailored to each person's needs and sensitivities.
which makes perfect sense given his emphasis on the mind-body connection.
Right.
If our emotional states can manifest physically, then it stands to reason that healing has to address both the mental and physical aspects of our being,
It's a holistic perspective.
recognizing the interconnectedness of all aspects of ourselves. So if Dr. Lieberman sees such a strong link between unresolved trauma and disease, how does that inform his view of light therapy? Does he see it as a way to address not only the symptoms, but also the underlying emotional roots of illness?
I think that's a really important question. While he doesn't explicitly say so in these excerpts, I think it's a reasonable assumption given his overall approach.
Okay.
If light can have such a fundamental impact on our biology,
Influencing everything.
influencing everything from hormone production to cellular function,
Right.
it stands to reason that it could also play a role in healing emotional wounds.
It's like the idea that light can illuminate not only our physical bodies, but also the dark corners of our minds,
Those places.
those places where we've buried painful memories and unresolved emotions.
I love that imagery. Light as a catalyst for both physical and emotional healing, helping us to become more whole and integrated beings.
That's a beautiful thought. And it aligns with Dr. Lieberman's optimistic vision of the future, a future where light-based therapies become mainstream, leading to a more holistic and less invasive approach to healthcare.
Imagine that.
It really makes you wonder, what if we've been approaching health and healing from too narrow a perspective? What if, by embracing light in all its forms, we can unlock this deeper level of well-being that encompasses not just the absence of disease, but also this vibrant sense of vitality and connection to ourselves and the world around us?
It's a really tantalizing possibility.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of light, what final thought would you leave our listeners with?
I'd simply ask, what aspects of your life might benefit from a closer look at your relationship with light?
Yep.
Perhaps it's spending more time in nature,
Embracing.
embracing the rhythms of sunlight and darkness. Or maybe it's exploring color therapy as a way to process emotions and foster self-awareness. The possibilities are vast and really personal. I think the main takeaway is this. Light is not just something external to us. It's something we embody, something that holds immense potential for healing and transformation.
That's a really powerful message. Thank you for joining us on this illuminating journey into the fascinating world of light. To quickly summarize what we learned today, here's a 10-point summary.
1. The human body functions as a living photocell, constantly absorbing and responding to light energy. 2. The eyes are not merely for sight. They act as a gateway for light to regulate internal systems like the hypothalamus, which controls crucial bodily functions. 3. The pineal gland, often referred to as the third eye, acts as the body's light meter, synchronizing us with the natural world and influencing hormone production. 4. Color, a manifestation of light, has healing properties that have been recognized across cultures for centuries and are now being validated by scientific research. 5. Malillumination, a term coined by Dr. John Ott, refers to the potentially harmful effects of artificial light on health, particularly from fluorescent lighting. 6. Dr. Ott's research showed that mice exposed to natural light live significantly longer than those under artificial light, and we see similar effects in humans. 7. Full spectrum lighting, which is designed to mimic natural sunlight, has shown positive effects on behavior, academic performance, and overall well being. 8. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, highlights the vital role of natural light cycles in regulating our mood and biological rhythms, and bright light therapy offers effective treatment. 9. Light therapy is being explored for a variety of conditions beyond SAD, including non seasonal depression, eating disorders, and even substance abuse detoxification. 10. Dr. Lieberman, the author we've been discussing, developed a color therapy approach based on his belief that unresolved emotional trauma can actually manifest as physical disease, and he uses color to facilitate healing and self awareness.
Wow, what a deep dive. And as always, we encourage you to continue your own exploration. Who knows what wonders you might uncover when you shine a light on the world within and the world around you. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.